All right, corner to corner with Cooperman, the first ever episode in the show's existence. I'm so happy to be on this channel, this platform. So a big shout out to Knuckletown and a big shout out to our guest for today, Joe Hitman 187 Elmore. Joe, thanks for coming on the show, buddy.
Yeah, no problem, brother. Glad to be on, man. It's exciting. First episode. Love Knuckletown. Let's do it.
Well, yeah, the thing that they told me off the bat was, yeah, we want you to do a show. But the one thing that you've been doing your entire career, which is talking to fighters about fighting, we don't want you to do. We want it to be like, I think the words they used to describe it were like, they wanted to do kind of like a Joe Rogan experience type thing, where we just kind of shot the breeze about whatever might come across our desks or our minds.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting. I mean, I want to give, I know we said we didn't want to talk about fighting, but I kind of want to give the people watching a little bit of a rundown of your background before we get into anything else, from your lips to their ears. I mean, if you had to kind of give, like, I guess like an elevator pitch, who is Joe Elmore outside of and inside of the cage before we get into anything else?
Most friendly psychopath on this planet. I'm a kind, loving, good soul that's willing to die to entertain people fighting. It's what is it? One of my favorite sayings is, "I would rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war." And yeah, I'm a warrior in a garden. Y'all are a bunch of flowers, and I love to entertain and water you with my savage blood. Yeah, man, I'm just love fighting, dude. That's what I am. I am fighting, and it's over time, and I've got mature, just developed into someone who fights for the right shit now, but kept that savage psychopath mentality, because another one of my favorite sayings is, can't call yourself a peaceful man unless you're capable of great violence. If you're not capable of great violence, you're not peaceful. You're what? Harmless, baby.
Well, so that's interesting. Where's that? I mean, for that psychology for you, because I tend to agree. I feel like if you don't have the means to defend yourself at the very least, to me, it just kind of seems like you're putting yourself at a disadvantage, because there's so many, and not to say that lurking around every single corner, there's going to be someone trying to attack you. But hey, I always view it as like, it's good to have it in your back pocket, even if you train jiu-jitsu, even if you train boxing, any of the martial arts disciplines. But was there like an experience or something for you that kind of, or was it, I'm assuming it was probably a bunch of different experiences compounded on top of each other that kind of got you into that?
Honestly, yeah, it's truly in my character. I'm going to write a book, and I can take it down, but Born Fighting. My first memory in life was my dad was advanced aviation, a Navy recruiter in Oceana, Virginia Beach, Virginia at the time, working on F-14s, F-16s. I was 3 years old. And I always tell people, most people don't remember being a baby or breastfeeding. Thank God, you don't want that in your memory. And but I do remember being like 2.5 years old. The first memory I have was I was looking in the pool in the corner, and I remember this because I just remember in my head as a child thinking like, "Whoa, what is this?" And it was like I was waving my hand, seeing the reflection, and I tried to touch myself. Next thing you know, I was drowning, and the guy was like, they were breathing in me. I coughed, and it was like this bright light, and I woke up. And for the next 2 or 3 weeks of my childhood, I remember Hurricane Gloria. Look it up. God, I was born in ~82, so look up when Hurricane Gloria was. I was 2.5. But I remember everything, going to the babysitter, people's names, my dad, the cars that my dad hung out with some flyboys, and the special forces come through there. My dad worked on the planes, so he was friends with the pilots and stuff. So man, they would come through with their big trucks and cars and play poker. And I remember this ditch in the backyard. And so my whole life, I think the first memory I have was fighting for air, born to fight. And I don't know what kind of superpower or adrenaline, but I have ADHD, overactive adrenaline gland. And I believe it was because of that moment and me having to fight for life so early in life. And there's a lot of other traumas, man. We were homeless. My mom had things. My dad got divorced. It was just a wild childhood. Went through several different kinds of abuse. Mental, physical, sexual abuse when I was a kid. And I just remember not wanting to suffer anymore. So eventually my life become being a ninja, like this hyper awareness that was created that day. I remember watching The Karate Kid that came out back then, and as being so young, like 2.5, 3 years old, 4 year old, 5 year old, having such a great awareness to the world. I don't know if I was afraid I was going to drown again or afraid of death, but I was like ADHD. I paid attention to everything. I was aware of every moment. Hyperactivity kicked in, and dude, I latched on to Top Gun, Karate Kid. I didn't know if I was Mel Gibson, but I was a fly boy, ninja jumping, Karate Kid. I even had the little little drums. And yeah, it started my journey to be a fighter. The only things I was ever happy doing from that point was going to gymnastics, going to karate, and even my gymnastics was because I thought I was going to be a backflipping ninja and the original white Jackie Chan.
Wow. So was there was a moment, I'm assuming, then, because you start to get enrolled in all these martial arts, and it sounds like to me, and again, let me know if this is an unfair characterization, that out of necessity, right, you had to be hyper aware, you had to be kind of always cognizant of your surroundings. Can you describe when it kind of flipped, when you're sitting there being like, well, hey, I actually kind of like getting punched in the face or punching people in the face or kind of getting after it with another man in the ring? Was it around your first fight, or when did that start kicking in?
When I was like 5 years old, I literally, I just enjoyed fighting. I mean, I'd fall out of trees and hit my face, and my adrenaline would just anything that made that bright light that I felt that first day I drowned. I become addicted to adrenaline, I think, because my adrenaline went. And a 3-year-old, dude, I could have punched a hole through that concrete. And I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I actually went to a neurologist for the very first time this year, and it always freaks people out. But I call it going Super Saiyan. But y'all look at my arms real quick. I can see how the hair. There's no goosebumps.
Yeah. It's kind of wild, yeah.
It'll actually electricity. I can activate my adrenaline gland and my vagus nerve. God, what do you get? It causes the sweat to beat up on my chest. So I have a hyper awareness, and when I get in there and fight, I see that bright light again, dude. I always tell people it's freaking nuts. If you watch Boondock Saints, we're talking about fighting, but it's really more about who I am, because when I open that ring, I touch every single inch. I float. I can no longer feel my feet. Time no longer exists. I feel that bright light. Same thing when I go skydiving. When I hit a double on a go 120 miles an hour on a crotch rocket, hit a double on a motorbike or a quad or just whatever I'm doing. But when I step in that ring, I can just, that bright light goes off and everything slows down. And I can see that person cheering while that guy's staring at me while he wants to whoop my ass, what his corner's saying. And I become superhuman again. And it's my whole life, those moments I get hit. And it's not pain. It's like, are you not entertained? And I just feel like that's what I was made for. It's the most moment when everybody's watching. And yeah, it's just something I am now.
Well, I think maybe an apt comparison, and you let me know if it's not, but I know Sean Strickland, UFC fighter, for those that, I feel like everyone that's going to be watching this obviously has to know, if they're watching this show, has to know who Sean Strickland is. He always says, that fighting is the only time where he feels like he's not really waiting to die. Would you say in that vein that, because I know you enjoy the adrenaline rush and that feeling of kind of being right on the edge, would you say that fighting is your true love, or is it chasing that feeling? And can you kind of like tell the difference between those two?
Power over the mindset. So it's more about the story now, because if you're not happy, nothing makes you feel good. But maintaining the power of so not everybody can fly an F-16. My dad used to work on them. You can work on them. Some of the guys that work on them can't fly them. And just because you know how it works, and just because you can build it, doesn't mean you can fly it. When you get an F-14, F-16, it's not like driving a Civic down the street. Right. It's G-force 8. You might pass out even if you know how to fly it. Can your brain and your body handle it? And developing myself, and he who angers you controls you. Defeat your enemies by living well. I want the most chaotic shit on the planet, and I want to be able to face it so others can't face their fears. So people are afraid, they don't have to be afraid anymore. I mean, people tell me all the time, like, Joe, I've never been dropped by a punch, but it's not about that. It's about the resilience that I show. And the people that know where I come from, the people that know my story, that saw me in the country in little Dyersburg, West Tennessee, and you wonder if you're ever going to get out of these little places, and you don't know anything but one Walmart for an hour and a half, or tractors and fields parties and keg parties and fighting and pagers that had 973, which means I love you, or like I come from a little rinky-dink town, and pagers were like, God, dude, when we had that, and Roy D. Mercer, and like, you just don't know what the rest of the world is. And yeah, man. So fighting, and it's that feeling. It's being nobody. It's being bullied. It's being everything I've ever been through. My whole story, my whole life. I get to tell it all at once, and people pay attention. And whether it's loving me or hating me, they're paying attention. And then when they pay attention, I get moments like this where I get to tell a story. And that's why it's not about the next fight or that fight. I'm fighting every single day. Fight at Christmas. I do my charity stuff without fighting, and getting in there and being able to be this savage monster and make my hair stand up and not get dropped by a punch. I'd still be nobody. I don't have to win a fight. I'm one of the most entertaining fighters on the world, and it doesn't matter whether I win or lose. People love me and support me and have my back. And again, it's just it's beyond the adrenaline. That bright light gets to shine, and then I take that bright light and share it with other people. And I do it strangely through love and violence. The passion and love I put into violence gets to spread love throughout the world, and only one person gets hurt, and we get to be friends afterwards.
Yeah, it's so funny because I always describe that to people. Some of the guys I spar with at the gym, people have a hard time grasping that those are some of my best buddies. And we say, oh, yeah, man, love you. Let's beat the shit out of each other. And then after we can go get food. They're like, how is that even possible? But I don't think it's something that the average person can understand. And maybe let's just say someone that's not interested in combat sports or combat overall can really grasp is just how close you can get with someone after sharing a cage or a ring or, the squared circle with them.
Yeah, the brotherhood is something I miss too. And then I started learning beyond the adrenaline. It was still wrestling. I did Taekwondo. I was a national champion at like 14 with Buddy Culver in Dyersburg, Tennessee. We did ATA tournaments, karate tournaments, local tournaments, Gold Gloves boxing. I used to travel and do the FX toughening contest with my boy Nicky Lawson. Everything I ever did, combat sports wise, I mean, there was a lot of ego. Some guys were fighters, usually the ones with the biggest egos, got their ass whooped the hardest over time. I started to notice they thinned out, and they talk louder, and it mattered less. But really, but when I got to wrestling, I got to see what my dad, like I was telling you, the coolest thing I remember, what was the first memory when I woke up that day, is I remember my dad having his poker tournament. That was like the second day after drowning when I was a kid, and his buddy Eric came over, and he had the Thunderbird with the light that popped up, and I was like, wow, the dragon lights. It looked like a dragon coming out of the front. And the other buddy had like this lifted truck, this big, it's Flyboy. I think he was like some kind of special forces, maybe even a SEAL that was on some kind of mission. I know he was just tough dude, like did a backflip off our porch. And like, I watched him sew his own hand with like yarn and a sewing needle. Dude was just like, I got it, man. I'm not going to the hospital so I can stay and party with my dad. When I wrestled, that's what we had. I mean, we had to cut weight together, get in the saunas together, run 4 miles. When one got in trouble, we all got in trouble. And we always lifted each other up, and we'd always whoop each other's ass, but it was to make the person stronger. And if anybody else whooped that person's ass, even though I whooped them in the gym, so we could build each other up. We break each other down so you build each other stronger. You sometimes got to tear the old house down and build a new foundation, and then you can build a mansion on it. And that's what these things do, is it allows us to build mansions, brotherhood. We can come across a lot of problems in life, and men are so singled out, white, black, Puerto Rican, whatever man you are, that it's so hard because you have all these expectations to be a father, the husband, who pays on the first date, opens the door, gets in. You have all these things, and then you're also told not to do, and then you have this privilege, and then so it's just very confusing. And through fighting and brotherhood, we realize it doesn't matter what color, what race, what boy, girl, we all go through our own thing. You think this about me, I think this about you, but the brotherhood, you can talk about it. You can call, and I can say, I'm suicidal today, or they can say that to me. And I've had that happen 3 times in the last week. I get a decision taken from me. There's a brother I can call and say, hey, I don't want to kill myself, but I'm feeling love. I don't feel like a good husband. Or he can call me, and you can be there for each other in a world that's not there for each other. In combat sports, you won't find, whether it's jujitsu, Muay Thai, they bleed together. The hotel parties. It's not about fellowship and communion and community. And if I'm going to have people that are around me, God, I'd love to have a bunch of fighters around me. It's the safest place I've ever felt. My life was with the most dangerous people I've ever met. And it's my family.
Well, you talked about men expressing emotion and the certain, let's just say, expectations that are put on them societally. And it's funny, I was actually talking to a buddy about this earlier this week, and he was like, it's so refreshing because we have a very tight-knit friend group like that. Can't say that they're all fighters, but we're all very adept at expressing our emotions. Do you feel like that's something that's kind of come up more nowadays, or do you think that's something that's kind of reclined? I mean, where do you think is, I guess what I'm trying to ask, the state of men's mental health awareness and their ability to express emotion?
All men come in all forms, man. I got my buddies like, dude, I got a feminine ass man friend, dude. You would almost think he was gay, and I wouldn't care if he is or not, but he's just super feminine. He's A-type personality. He reminds me of my dad. He didn't feel manly. He was one of my kickboxing clients. That's what I love about fighting too. It's not just the fighters. I got normal guys that just want to get in shape. I got guys that are fat that work at the CDC or the government, or they were a cop and some guy like outran them. They come in and they get fit. Man, we change people's lives, and you build brotherhoods, and you learn that we are all so different. And we all really are the hardest on ourselves, men especially. I'm my own worst enemy. I will depress myself by feeling like a shit husband or feeling like a bad father. I make a mistake, and then the regret from that mistake leads to more chaos in my life than anything. But when I've got a friend that's kind of feminine that can teach me to settle down and soften my words, I'm not a feminine man. No way, dude. I'm a fucking savage, but it gets on my nerves. Jesus Christ. Help me. So I learn the things that I am not from those that are, and they learn from me, and I protect them, and they soften me up, or they give me good advice. They don't give me bad advice. I don't call them. I'm acting like an angry savage, and I've got that friend or this friend or whoever that has that different personality or that soft side that the world might tell them it's not normal. Yes, it is. Maybe you're a 5%, but we got to have 5% of these, 5% of those. We got to have a nurse. You got to have a healer. You got to have a savage. You got to have an idiot. You got to have a criminal. If you don't have a criminal, there's no job for cops. I mean, we all serve our purpose, and we all can meet somewhere in the middle. And martial art, I don't mind fighting it out neither. I don't care if you like my opinion, and I can fight you in 5 seconds, and we can discuss it out. And yeah, man, there's all types for all types.
Well, could you explain to people listening the idea also? It seems like, I don't think street justice is a good word for it, but the tendency of men to be able to, we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, to be able to have what's like considered to be an honorable, back in New York, they call it shooting the ones, or having the fair fade, or whatever you might want to call it. Can you explain that idea to people? Because that's something that also people, I feel like, don't really understand.
The original fisticuff, man. It's like, I don't promote violence in a way of like, but I think that taking the ability for men to wrestle or struggle, or the alpha pack order is misunderstood. The alpha is supposed to not let a bunch of bitch ass beta men that have emotionals fill and take over for everybody. Excuse me. And that's just me. But the alpha is supposed to protect him and not let them make bitch ass decisions, and not let you whine and you fucking bite that little bitch, and he quits acting like a bitch, and we all take our places. And I'm not doing it to be authority over nobody. I just want everybody to be safe and to talk and to communicate and learn your role. Like, don't be sneaky, because that sneaky guy that gets away with this and gets away with that, that's the ones that kill people, that take somebody's wife from them, or like I said, I think the order, and you have a king and a tyrant. And too much tyranny has been taken over, where weak people with ideas that don't care about anybody but themselves, and they get a whole lot of other people that have this special idea, and they don't give about anybody but themselves. That's the tyrant, and they rule with fear, and they make everybody hate each other, and they divide each other because they can't get along. And then you've got this one that just, sometimes you gotta kill that guy. And I don't believe in killing either, but you can't let the world be destroyed for one bad person. And again, it's just the alpha order of things. You know who's the healer, you know who's the protector. You hang out with a group of 20 guys for 6 months straight on an island, everybody will know their role. It'll be obvious. You can't play anymore because it's about survival. It's not, and we've lost that. So people can hide being a narcissist or hide being a sociopath or pretend to be nice, and good can be seen as evil and evil can be seen as good, because good men do great bad things and bad men do great things. And yeah, part of being a warrior is not easily confused. I used to love people so much. I let them trick me into loving the wrong ones, and I still love them. But loving everyone doesn't mean I have to like everyone or put up with everybody's shit either. And
so you mentioned the idea of kind of more so beta men and their let's just say their tricky ways. Have you had any? I mean, is there any stories that you could kind of tell from personal experience? I mean, you mentioned guys that will kind of try and take wives away or go behind people's backs. I'm assuming you've had personal experience with that.
I mean, dude, I have in my younger days, just, you're in high school and you got a girl you like in high school. I call it the high school mentality. Before boys mature, you really lose it. Some of them never lose that high school mentality, and they carry it, their bitch ass. What I call it, bitch assness. It's just my foul mouth and stank for people who hurt other people and take advantage of people. But the guy will have everything he wants, and he used to have his big truck. I ain't gonna mention his name, but I remember he got this Chevy Silverado, good looking. I called him Butt Chin because he was beautiful. Looked like a fucking statue. Probably didn't have no hair on his butt or his nuts still today. Can't grow a mustache. I barely can. But yeah, no, this dude was just a prick, man. And he had this beautiful girl who's like, dad was a leader of the church. And I remember in high school, but he still just like, he would like, dude, like my buddy Frank, fat little Frank, hung like a dip can, he said, short and fat. He would always just like try to steal Frank's girl. He would try to steal this guy's girl. And we were like 6 friends. We all hung out, but Steven had the brand new nice truck. So we didn't want to get seen in my 1989 Ford Tempo. And we didn't want to ride in his doo-doo brown Corolla because it had these back seats. It was like a 1970 knit that looked like doo-doo and yellow mixed together. But Steven had the Chevy Silverado with the back seat, and my boy had 10,000 acres on the farm. And get out on the farm, he's the type of girl to get a girl drunk and maybe not do nothing weird with her, but just be weird, just bad dudes. And a guy like that around me now, we would toss his ass off a bridge.
Well, and so you said now, especially today, on a macro or a world type of scale, there are those types of guys. I'm assuming, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but would that be more like politicians, business leaders, stuff like that?
Everybody, man, everybody, church leaders, preachers, pastors. There's there's racist white people, racist black people. You can't limit. I don't limit nobody, dude. For example, I'm a type of person who can go in business with my dad, and not everybody should go in business with their family. But my dad, I don't know if he's the type of person that can go into business with me. So just because I could be the type of person going to business with you, don't mean you could be the type of person going to business with me. Because I could be like, fuck you, bitch, right in the middle of a fucking business meeting. We can hash it out. We can fight. We can be business. We can be sons. But there's 3 different entities, and people got to separate it. So that's a complex answer for me, because, I mean, we just got to be the best we can every single day, be aware and keep good people around, because we don't even know what we want. Like sometimes what I want changes, and sometimes I thought I knew something, but I'm not stupid, but I'm ignorant. I don't know everything. I haven't experienced everything. And sometimes I make decisions that someone comes to me and says, hey man, this and this, and I get new information and I change the decision or the way I feel about it. And it doesn't make me a bad person. I sometimes make bad decisions. So I believe, I just give everybody the benefit of a doubt. So there's no doubt.
Well, I want to talk about, you said you haven't experienced everything yet. And obviously you're far from being over with or done with your fight career. You're still, tons of promise, tons of upside. I wonder if you've given any thought though, to kind of like what you would do once you felt it was time to hang it. Like, I know you're a guy
I still do it all now, man. I travel.
I know, yeah, you were telling me about that.
I got several businesses.
Yeah.
I got a French drain company. I do day trading investments. I have a couple guys that I've taken all my fight money and I've invested into businesses, my own products, and I'm writing the book. I mean, I've got opportunity to do acting. I've got a couple things in character that I've been working on, Hollywood style. I do music. Dude, it's no, I've overthought what I'm gonna do, and I found that I can do a lot, man. I'm doing really, really well for myself, and like I said, I have a lot of business things that I've invested in through the ability to train and not have to work that 9 to 5. I've already thought about it, dude. I think about 5 years ago, really, that's when my life changed with BKFC. I was getting to a point in my MMA career where I was just like, now what am I going to do? I don't want to work at a gym all day long. I love working at a gym. I loved working at X3, teaching kickboxing, being a personal trainer. But I mean, even $100 an hour, 5 hours, 10 hours a day, how far is that going to get me? Am I going to ever own Trump Towers? And I'm not saying I ever will have that kind of money, but I want to have employees that I can provide for. I think that my ability to fight and what I go through in a cage, there's no business dealings. There's nothing that I know I can't do. So I've already been preparing for fighting. Fighting was I mean, God, dude, there ain't no dogs at a business meeting. If I'm intelligent enough to know what I'm getting into business with, I can go handle anything, and it's no fight. You got guys that try to bully you and overtalk you and overpower you. And like I said, my alpha mentality is there. So I'm way ahead on that. The future is super bright. I want to stay involved with fighting always. I don't know if it'll be refereeing. Uh, People try to talk me into commentating. So I do believe I'm going to have some kind of commentating role. I'm very intelligent and very articulate when it comes to fights. And I love people, getting to know them. So I think I'd fit in good there, as far as sticking with the fight world stuff outside what I do already.
I personally, I'd want to hear you on on call for a broadcast. Is there a particular, because you are, yeah. I mean, I remember we were talking before the show. You said you were just like, all right, well, I said, when can you do this show over the course of the week? You're like, well, Monday I've got these 16 things, Tuesday these 30 things, Wednesday these 40 things. Is there something that you kind of enjoy more so? I know you had mentioned providing for people and being able to kind of lead over people in a business. Is there something out of all the things you do that you kind of enjoy the most? Is it acting? Is it, well, I mean, what kind
Fighting.
of gets your fancy? Fighting?
Fighting, man. Fighting is giving me everything. Fighting is what gave me the confidence to rap. Like, I mean, I rap my own walkout sign. Every time I walk out from BKFC, that's me and Jay Killa from Elite Empire Entertainment, Beat Camp Entertainment out of Montgomery, Alabama. I grew up in Dyersburg, Memphis, Tennessee, and I live next to LaChat at Peachtree Apartments. She rapped with 3-6 Mafia, and my boy had a guy I hung out with, White Chocolate, Christopher Criswell. He still raps. He's got I believe he's with did some stuff with Grape Tree Records. It's a Christian rap group now because he went through some drugs and went to prison and got saved, and now he ministers to others. And so yeah, man, I grew up around rap and music. I really love rap and music, but anything extreme and uncontrollable, fighting, skydiving, mountain climbing, anything that pushes you to the limit that people think they can't do, I like to do and show people, because if fighting is too violent for you, maybe mountain climbing will encourage you, or maybe it'll get you to ask a question. And number one, I love people, man. I think the reason I do all of that is just so people will pay attention, and I get to meet new people that I would never get to meet anywhere else in the world. And I get to have friends, people that love me and hate me, and I get to feel something at all time, even if it's depression. I realize one thing I want to do is feel. And sitting around feeling nothing with nobody was just the worst punishment in the world. I think that's how God created everything, is just him being alone in the center of the universe for eternity, and he eventually everything from him just wanting to love, and that's what we are as him. So just everything, life, love, it's all provided from the things we experience, and I ain't afraid of none of it. I love it all.
Well, fighting's taking you all over the place. I mean, I was checking, just doing my research, doing my due diligence. Obviously, BKFC, they have shows all over the place, and you've also fought for a ton of promotions. Is there a particular place that kind of like stood out amongst the rest? Because I saw you went to London. I'm actually going to London later this year. I was going to ask you for some recommendations.
I fought, dude. I've got some wild stories. I just got 2024 toughest fighter of the year, Georgia Fighters. I sponsored the event. I honestly wasn't even expecting to get an award. They hit me up because usually when you get on bigger levels, the NFC and the local fight community in Georgia, I like to support the upcoming fighters to give them their accolades and awards. But man, I've been the toughest fucking fighter on this planet for a long time. But when I went to Kazakhstan, they called. I got a phone call from Ken Pavia. It was Wednesday afternoon, 7:30, 8 o'clock. Somebody says, "Hey, we need a fight. 155, 145." Dude, I was 180 pounds this time. And I was getting ready to have surgery on my knee. And they were like, 8,000 to show, 8,000 to win. And I was like, somebody tagged me on Facebook. I don't remember who it was, but it was in Ken Pavia's post. And next thing you know, I said, where's it at? When? Who? Don't give a fuck about weight. I'll take it. Ooh, 16 grand? Okay. So Ken Pavia hits me up and he's like, "Hey, this is in Kazakhstan. It's for the main event." He said some Ashmana Smartapova. God, he's a world champion, 11-time combat sambo world champion. I do know that now. At the time, I didn't know shit. I heard 8,000 to show, 8,000 to win. So I was like, okay, when is this fight? Tuesday, 7 p.m. He's like, this Friday? And I'm like, this Friday? He's like, yeah, in Kazakhstan. We got to fly you out like now. Do you have your passport? Are you ready to go? I'm like, what do you mean now? And they're like, the next flight is 6 a.m. Wednesday morning, like in 12 hours. Do you have anybody that can go with you? I called my boy Dog Pound, Nick Brazier out of Coach Crazy Chris, used to train with James Toney and Kronk way back in the day. He's the one that traveled to London with me. I called Nick and I was like, "Hey, Nick, what are you doing, dog?" And he's like, "Sitting at home, feeding the dogs, Lola and Crazy." And I was like, "Hey, bro, you got your passport?" He's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "You want to go on a fight with me?" He's like, "You already know I do, bro. Where are we going?" I'm like, "Kazakhstan." He's like, "When are we leaving? When is this fight? How long we got to get ready?" I'm like, "I need you to come right now. Like, pack your shit, get over here, dude. They're wanting to fly us to Kazakhstan." He's like, "Let me ask my wife." He goes, "Hey, babe." Well, I guess he was already there where you can grab the phone. He's like, "Hey, babe, I got to go with Joe." And she's like, "All right." So that motherfucker drove over to my house. I think he got here at like midnight. Me and my wife's like, she's the best. She's in my corner every single time. Love you, babe. She's been my manager 15 years. She's like, "All right, I guess we're doing this." She packs all our stuff up, makes sure we have everything, gets it packed, get this ready. I called a friend because I knew in Kazakhstan I wasn't going to have a phone, so they let me borrow their iPad. So we picked up the iPad so I could use Wi-Fi and FaceTime her. And so we got on a plane, flew to Kazakhstan. We got picked up by these, like, they're half Russian Asian over there. It's like right by Afghanistan, Asia, it's right on the border. So they're like, dude, they're nuts, bro. We land and these guys pick us up in a BMW, and they're like, when you land in Kazakhstan, you can't go there as an American. They like took my passport, kept it, like I was like a diplomatic trip there. But it was called Almighty Pride, Kazakhstan versus the world, and I was the representative for America fighting Armana Bova for the main event for Almighty Pride over there, which is like their main thing, like their UFC. And I was like, I get there. Well, we fly on, what was it, 17 and a half hours to Frankfurt, Germany, and it was a 3-hour connection and another 11 hours to Kazakhstan. We get there and they pick us up in this BMW, and it's got bulletproof glass, one clear window and one dark window. And both of them were bulletproof. We leave the airport. They like pick us up, take us to security, and they're like running over sidewalks. I mean, they did whatever they wanted to do. So we get there, they take us to weigh in. I cut like 30 pounds flying there. I made weight with these guys after cutting for like 24 hours. I land, I run through the city. Long story short, the day that we made weight, these two same guys pick us up. And I guess they're like some kind of like the dictator's kids, like princes or whatever you want to call them. I don't know their titles over there, but they were important kids of the people. And they want to take us out to celebrate, to show us that their country is amazing, that the idea of what America has of them is wrong. So they take us out to this hall, dude, and it's got like these chandeliers, and they've got a table full of meat, and they eat horse over there. They're trying to feed us horse, and they got vodka up, and I'm like, dude, I got to fight tomorrow. What is going on here? Well, we get in this big dinner. They're trying to like show us how amazing it is. You got people dancing, and about 3 or 4 hours into it, I'm like, dude, we got to go back to our room. And they're like, no, before we go, we have to do Kazakhstan dance. So they put on this music and then they dance for us. And they're like, now it's Americans' turn. And they want to like put on this, they want to put on the music for us to dance. So we put on like a Detroit, it was some Detroit, Helluva. We put on a song by Helluva because my boy, his cousin made the beat for him. So we put on the hell of a beat and we're like crip walking, but we notice it's in Kazakhstan. It was that beat, but it was like a Kazakhstani rapper that like I guess went over it.
Yeah.
Well, crazy story. Like over there, apparently women don't have rights. Kids, they're like it's very different. And I didn't know this at the time, but the lady who had played the wrong song for us, I guess the guy goes over there, and she like spits in his face. So whenever they do this, I'm freaking out, y'all. I'm in a different country. All of a sudden, the dude like smacks the girl in the face. Pow! And I'm like, oh, Jesus, we're going to die. What's going on here? Oh, my God. So I'm sitting here in the country, getting ready to fight. I have no passport. They've taken it from me. There's a girl on the floor. This guy's got spit in his face. They're cussing each other. I don't understand it. My friend who's there with me, supposed to be my corner, he's drank like 3 shots. He never drank. So he's like fucking shit faced, like totally blacked out damn near on just 3 shots of vodka. And so I'm sitting there going, oh my God, what's going on? Well, she gets up off the floor and throws a glass at the guy that just smacked her. And then so I'm like, oh my God, I'm hanging out this thing. And I look at the other guy that's riding me. They had 2 cars. I look at the guy and I'm like, can you take us out? And he's like, oh, no way, American. This is funny. It happens all the time. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. No. So all of a sudden, the Kazakhstani army comes in with machine guns and like runs in, dude. I lay on the floor and they're like, no, 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 no. So the guy comes and he picks me up and the cop comes and he's like laughing and they have to get one that speaks English. And he comes, he's like, no, America, you don't worry. And I'm like, fuck has just happened? Apparently she had disrespected me. I had some kind of diplomatic immunity and these guys are supposed to like show me the honor of their country. And apparently by her disrespecting me, she went to jail that night. I'm begging them not to take her to jail. And then they come over to me and they're like, we're so sorry. Will you take pictures with us? And I'm like, okay, can I please go home? And they're like, take 2 pictures, then we'll let you leave. And they like hand me their machine gun, tell me to take my shirt off. So I'm standing here with the Kazakhstani army holding a machine gun. Like, please take me to the hotel. I'm trying to smile. I finally get in the car. They take me back to the hotel. I call my wife on this thing and I'm like, babe, did they send that money? I've got the first 8,000 in the bank because I told them I'm not fighting if I don't get my money. And then she's like, well, they sent 4,000. I'm like, okay. They said they're going to send the other half whenever I get done fighting. I got to get the fuck out of here. And then I hear a knock at my door and I'm like, what the fuck is going on now? They brought 2 girls back to the hotel to say sorry. Apparently this prostitution's completely legal and they love it over there. And it's like, you can get girls anytime. And I'm like talking to my wife and I'm like, bro, like, what are y'all doing? I got to fight tomorrow. Part of the plan was to get us fucked up and like, just whatever they could do to us. But looking back in hindsight, it was like a movie. It was the most amazing, annoying, scary. Yeah. I've never been scared in my life, but I was scared to death of everything that had happened there. But now that I made it back alive with more money than I had made in any point at that point, yeah, that was the wildest experience I ever had in my life. And I don't recommend going. But yeah, it was just, yeah, man, I can't believe that fighting even gave me a story to have like that opportunity to go to a place I would have never imagined as exist at all.
You know what that kind of reminds me of? That plays out like the Hangover movies. That's like the vibe that, you know what I mean?
It reminds me of that guy, the fat guy, the machine. I felt like Bert. Yeah, I felt like Bert. I would come over and I'm like, dude, I thought I was going to die. They're making fun of me. I'm laying face down on the floor, y'all. Like when they come in with the machine guns, I'm about to piss my pants thinking I'm finna die. And they're laughing at me, telling me I can do whatever I want. And I'm like, I want to go home.
I want to go back to the hotel
I
room.
want to fucking go home with some money back to America because y'all are nuts. And then when I got back to America, I mean, like, it was wild. It was beautiful. There were scenes, but you could really see a difference between people that had the princes that I was with, and then the normal people. They didn't get to do what they wanted. I mean, they were about to run people, like they were going on the sidewalk, honking their horn, like they were going to run people over if they didn't get out of their way. Very like strange. I don't like no matter where I'm at, no matter how famous or whatever I do, or wherever I've been, how much money I have, how little I have. I believe we're all just people, and it felt very strange to be with people that treated people not like people. And then we have a country over here where people think we're not treated equally, and we don't have equal opportunity. But you've never been to Kazakhstan. Like
Apparently not.
I'm over here just very, very thankful for even the bullshit we go through. You know, we live in a blessed country, and until you go places like that where they've got dictators and communism and they still live these fun lives, but like for a person that's lived over here and faced our problems, it's the problems they got over there are way worse and way different.
Apparently, so that woman, the reason that they took her to jail was because she had disrespected you by playing the wrong version of a song?
Playing the wrong song, and then when she spit in his face, that was you can't do that. So it was really for spitting in his face too after she had done the.
Wow.
That's funny enough, it was at the same dance hall that oh my God, what's the movie? And that's what they were. Borat was filmed in Kazakhstan, and it was the same dance hall with the chandelier. And the dance they did was the same song that Borat had danced to at that little hall with the chandelier in the movie. That was the whole purpose of them taking us there.
Oh, so like there's something that an American would understand. It's a little bit more palatable. That makes sense. Would you say that the movie Borat is how much authenticity do you think it has?
I mean, it's there, but it's like it just shows the goofy side. But really, it's like to me, I saw a different side though. So I saw like a diplomatic, privileged side. Like when we got there on the stand, they told us not to leave the facility, but I was still like I cut like 30 pounds, so I was like 12 pounds over. And it was snowing, and we left the gate, and as we're running like two lanes over here, 2 lanes over here, and you're running like it's like a city, I would say, like maybe like Seattle or it wasn't as many sky rises, but it was a lot of like apartment buildings, like a little like Manhattan or something, like the lower Manhattan where you're not going to get all the big sky rises, but
right.
And but there was girls on the side of the road, like. Just the whole through the whole city, even the nice parts. It was just different. It was very like eye opening to life in general.
Wow. I mean, listen, an illuminating story about Kazakhstan is not. I did not have that on my bingo card for 2025, but I honestly think we could probably. I mean, here on that story, we could probably bring this episode to a wrap, dude. But I've had so much fun talking with you, man. You're full of very entertaining stories. You never cease to. I don't know if anyone's ever told you this. You're a fantastic storyteller. I felt like I was right there in Kazakhstan along with you there.
Yeah, man. I do believe that's one of the gifts I have. It's a joke. Whenever we used to be in soccer, we'd always people would gather around and be like, "Oh, story time!" Because anytime, man, I'm always adventurous. I love to do things, and then people that are too scared, sometimes you tell a story, and again, man, it's maybe somebody go to Kazakhstan, or maybe somebody will do something else, and I love to draw people in, and I love to learn from others too, man. You know, if you get a good storyteller, never ending story, that's what life is, and I might not get to experience something, but again, my other friends can tell me stories, and I hope that my story encourages other people to share with me too. So
absolutely entertaining, inspiring, all things that I would use to describe you, good sir. Joe, I appreciate you coming on the show, buddy. I know we've only met twice now, but I really thank you taking time out of your busy schedule to come and talk to me. And for the first episode of the podcast, I feel like I've personally had a blast. I definitely would love to have you on again if you'd be down.
Absolutely, man. Open to talk about anything. Let's go.
Alrighty, y'all. If you guys liked, comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Joe, yeah, I know you said you had your book that you wanted to plug. Anything else before we get out of here?
No, man, just everybody on the wall behind me, everybody that supports me. I do just want to spread the message of just shut the fuck up and love each other, man. Look at yourself, hold yourself accountable, because if we don't hold ourselves accountable, it doesn't matter what other people do to us. Just hold yourself accountable every single day. Find a way to be better, and learn to love somebody you dislike. And forgiveness is for yourself, because resentment sucks. It's like a soul sucking demon. So just be better every day. Fight for what's right, and love yourself, baby.
Truer words have never been spoken. Joe, appreciate you, and we'll see y'all in the next one.
Y'all be blessed.